All right, let's check in with Tom. How you doing?
Very well, Aaron. Good to be with you.
All right. Listen, I know you want to talk about the situation. We've not talked about it yet. What happened in Amsterdam? So please fill us in and let's talk about what the issue here is here.
Well, I think that some of this goes into the category of name things by their name. And so when I read the first reports coming out of Amsterdam during the evening, I was surprised that some people were trying to boil it down to an argument between soccer fans of different teams. It was clearly a planned anti-Semitic attack. Jews were being attacked in Amsterdam as if this was a pogrom a century ago. And I couldn't believe what I was reading, but I especially couldn't understand or countenance the way it was being covered. It's almost as if the word anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic attack is something that you're going to try to avoid. And I noticed the same thing in some of the media coverage of an anti-Semitic attack by a mob at Shar HaShamayim synagogue. And I congratulate somebody like Mark Miller, or Laura, Gainey, the MP,
Anna Gainey, yeah,
Anna Gainey from Westmount for calling it out. But I read Mark Miller's statement. He said it's a disgusting display of vitriol. Vitriol, really? That's when two guys are fighting and screaming at each other in a bar. That's vitriol. This is a disgusting display of anti-Semitism. Name it, call it out. And where is the Montreal police? Look, by pure chance, I was coming down Côte St. Catherine in the spring, coming center, get to it. Police lights everywhere, big flags everywhere. What the heck's going on? There was hardly any coverage of it, but there was somebody from Israel who was giving a speech inside. The whole place was being locked down, blocked by a mob. A very tiny group of protesters across the street were holding Israeli flags in front of what was a Jewish community center to try to show their presence. The police told them to leave and allowed the scores of people who were blocking people from coming out of that building and moving, did nothing with them. Mm-hmm. So to have that described, what happened at Shar HaShamayim, as a pro-Palestinian protest, I will never say that anybody is not allowed to protest the current situation there. People feel it's one of those things that, gets very strong feelings, both sides. Fair enough. But when I've been in touch all day with people who were there. I was not there. But, a 15-year-old girl who was witness to somebody screaming hateful phrases about Jews, death to Jews, was being bandied about and screamed at people in front of a place of worship in Montreal. And the police did nothing, but they did have reassuring sentences like, "We will be there for you." To do what? And after what has happened? So this is, I think, clearly an indication of a city that has completely lost the plot in terms of what it means to protect the public, which is supposed to be the number one thing that City Hall does. Now, people will always tell you, well, Valerie Plante and, the executive doesn't exactly get to tell the police department what to do. Fair enough, but they sure as heck pay the bill, and they get to find out they get to have a say about whether or not the public is being protected. And it's clearly not. I mean, this is case after case where people who say they're only protesting, these things break down into strong anti-Semitic attacks, and they're being countenanced. A lot of these things, as far as I'm concerned, go into the category of hate crime or should at least be investigated as such, but nothing seems to come of it in the city of Montreal. And I find that disquieting. And again, I'd be the first one out there to say, no, you want to protest the current situation in the Middle East from your point of view, the pro-Palestinian protest, no problem at all. But that's not what we're talking about here.
I will point out, I mean, this has come up before, and this is a failing of the city. There's no question here. Now, the question that you bring up is it the mayor or is it the police? I don't know what the answer there is as well, but fingers certainly have been pointed at Valerie Plante for allowing this to happen over and over again without any direction to the police to, at some point when this turns into an anti-Semitic act, when there's this yelling and screaming, something should be done, but nothing has. So it appears nothing has changed.
Well, my only point in bringing this up today is I just find that the way we stick handle around the wording of this tends to try to clean things up. Let's call it what it is.
Sure.
These are anti-Semitic acts, and there are laws to protect people from hatred, and there are laws to protect people's physical security. And there was an injunction here, but apparently it wasn't continued. They never got the permanent injunction. There had been one. I guess the courts are going to have to look at it, obviously, again, because you can't have mobs threatening people as they walk into a place of worship in 2024 in Montreal. It's just to say that is unreal. But to know that nothing's really being done about it, time after time, case after case, is a huge source of concern, whether it's the one I described on Côte St. Catherine in front of the Cummings Centre, whether it's the one at Shar HaShamayim, or whether it's at McGill over the summer. At some point, there has to be a recognition of the fact that these are hateful anti-Semitic attacks. People will have their point of view about the ongoing war in the Middle East. That's their absolute right to protest what they're seeing. But you don't take that on individual citizens in Montreal who are going about their business and going into a place of worship. Then you're getting into somber, direct anti-Semitism. That's my only point.
Fully agree. And I think that's something we need to address yet again to the mayor, perhaps next time we have her back on here, because this can't continue to happen. It emboldens people to keep doing this if there's never any penalty to pay for having done it in the first place.
Yeah, and the police do have other tools than what they're using so far. And they're apparently oblivious to what's actually taking place. The very fact that people are being threatened that way and screamed at, and the threats were very direct. From everything I've been able to gather with the numerous people I've been talking to since the beginning of the day, I'm just appalled that nothing is really being done to try to make sure that people are safe in a place where they're allowed to feel safe.
All right. Tom, let me move on from that while we still have a minute here. So there's a new Nanos poll that asks Canadians who should be the next leader of the Federal Liberal Party.
Yes, it's Prime Minister Nota.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. None of the above. So surprised by this or not, this just seems like more of the same to me.
Well, I mean, essentially, it's, don't forget, you're asking all Canadians, including people who would vote for a bunch of other parties. So you're going to get all sorts of different answers. To my thinking, there are two serious outside candidates. They are Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada, and you've got the former premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark. I mean, she's a serious person. Her French is so-so, but she's working very, very hard to bring that up. You've got several people around the cabinet table think Anita Anand or Chrystia Freeland. François-Philippe Champagne thinks he's got a shot, although the Liberals have a century-old history of alternating French and English. So I think he's going to have to wait his turn. But it's not real to think anybody who's been around Trudeau's cabinet table is not going to carry the full burden of everything that Trudeau's done. People want to see Trudeau gone. It's personalized to him and his decisions. So their only chance for the Liberals, who still have an incredibly strong brand nationally, they've been in power for most of Canada's history, their only chance is to go with somebody like Christy Clark or Mark Carney. And is Trudeau going to pull the plug on the current Parliament, do what he can do to get out of Dodge, call a shrunk down, an accelerated leadership review to come in with a leadership race, to come in with a new leader of the Liberals, maybe give them a bit of a fighting chance. But the history of these things in the Liberal Party. When Pierre Trudeau left, he gave John Turner zero time to turn around and prepare, and Turner went down in flames to Brian Mulroney. It was the same thing when Brian Mulroney himself left. He gave zero time, to his successor, and she had everything. She was a very, very engaging figure, but it just wasn't going to be. So Kim Campbell, again, she went down in flames the same way that John Turner did. So the history of these things, and it happened to Martin himself, by the way, because Chrétien held on for as long as he can, and when then Martin came in, he had no chance. He had no room to maneuver, nothing left to do. So I think that Trudeau, intentionally or not, is doing the same thing. Après moi le déluge, as the French kings would have said. Let nature take its course, but I'm going to hang on as long as I can. Let those suckers deal with their own problems.
All right. I will leave it at that. Tom, I thank you so much, and hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Aaron.